Good evening. It is exactly 7 o'clock, and we are in the Commission chambers for the first September regular meeting of the Ormond Beach City Commission. I hope you felt welcomed as you came in tonight, and as we call the meeting to order, I want to recognize our greeters. You saw Finance Director Kelly McGuire and Assistant Finance Director Chris Bile. That's our award-winning finance team out there welcoming you in. They do an amazing job for us in a lot of ways, and of course they have supervision from Joyce and her team, but every year they win awards, and we're proud of the example they set for other communities in this state regarding their budget prowess, I guess we'll call it. So thank you both, and thank you for serving as greeters. I want to introduce the folks who are sitting up in front of you tonight. To my right, your left, is our recording secretary, Taylor Lockhart. Next is City Clerk Susan Dodderis. Our Commissioner from Zone 1, Dwight Selby.
Good evening.
Our Commissioner from Zone 2, Troy Kent.
Evening, everybody.
To my left and your right, our Deputy Mayor and Zone 3 Commissioner, Susan Persis.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome.
Our Zone 4 Commissioner, Rob Littleton. City Manager, Joyce Shanahan. Assistant City Manager, Claire Whitley. City Attorney, and it's not Randy Hayes tonight, it's Scott McKee. Scott, good to have you back with us. And then way to my far left is our Police Captain, Chris Roos. And Fire Chief, I believe, Howard Bailey with us. For those of you listening online, I'm Mayor Bill Partington. At this time, if you would, please silence your cell phones, and we will have the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Dear Lord, we thank you for the many blessings you have bestowed upon Ormond Beach and each of us individually. The gift of life, the gift of freedom, the ability to come here and do the work of the people in a government that serves. We ask that you guide us, give us strength and wisdom, courage to be kind, make good decisions, find good policy, and work to make Ormond Beach an even better city than it already is. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now at this time is a special time, and I do see our police chief, Jesse Godfrey, joining us. Captain Roos was just filling in there for a minute. It's a time that we try to take advantage of every year. We don't always have new school principals, but this year we do. And so first I want to recognize our school board member from Ormond Beach and for Ormond Beach, Zone 4 school board member Carl Persis, who's also former chairman of the school board. Carl, thank you. And then I'm going to introduce everybody and then have you all come up front, and we'll get a picture with the commission standing behind you, and I'll probably let Deputy Mayor Persis say a few words. We do have 3 brand new school principals in Ormond Beach this year, which is fantastic. First of all, we're excited to introduce Mr. Tucker Harris from Seabreeze High School. Tucker. And then next, from Ormond Beach Middle School, Miss Heather Iannarelli? Iannarelli. And Heather Heather made it, even though tonight's open house, she still made it on time, so congratulations. And then last but not least, Pine Trail Elementary School, Miss Michelle Soika. I can't say enough good things about how important education is. I know Ormond Beach, our community, really works hard to support our schools. You see that in the Teacher of the Quarter program. You see that in the way our businesses help when called upon. And so to have you here to be recognized is wonderful for us. Thank you for taking the time to come. And I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Mayor Persis to say a few words when she finishes her drink. Yep. And then we'll have you all come up with your school board representative, and we'll take a picture right in front here, if that's okay.
Well, I just want to welcome my husband here tonight. It's nice to see you here. And all three of these principals sitting in front of all of us here have special meaning to me. Tucker, first of all, Tucker and I worked together at Pine Trail Elementary for 3 years, and it was, I think, the best 3 years I ever had in my educational career. We had fun, we worked hard, we did a lot for our school to make it just a fabulous school. And I know when each of us left, it was just going strong, and so just a good feeling. But Tucker, I'm very, very proud of you. I can't think of anybody more qualified or better suited for Seabreeze High School than you. I really can't. You emulate the sand crab spirit, and I know you always will. It's wonderful. Your kids are there, and it's just meaningful. I know you know a lot of the Pine Trail kids and the Ormond Beach Elementary kids, and maybe some of your kids from your other schools. So I'm just beyond proud of you, and I just want to welcome you back to Ormond Beach. And Heather, last year I had the honor to do some mentoring for brand new principals, and Heather happened to be a brand new principal, and so we got to spend time together last year at her previous school, and we had spent a lot of time talking and getting to know one another and just talking about education in general and swapping ideas and so forth. And when Ormond Middle opened, she was like, "Oh, you think I should apply?" I'm like, "Yes, you should apply. Go for it. You go for it." And gosh, look what happened. She's there, and she's so happy. She went to Ormond Middle School and is a local girl, as Tucker is, and like a local guy, Tucker, sorry. But she's local, one of the, born and raised right here in our city. And so being the principal of Ormond Middle is very meaningful to you. I know that, and I know you love the school, and I know you're going to bring it to another level, and I'm beyond proud of you and all you do, Heather. So congratulations. And Michelle, I don't know you, but you, as you know, you're at the premier elementary school, as far as I'm concerned, in Ormond Beach. And I know they're very happy to have you there at Pine Trail, and you have wonderful students, wonderful teachers. The parents are fabulous, and it's all going to work. And I know that you're enjoying it. I've heard great things about you in the community, because even though I haven't been there in a while, people still do call, People still call. So I'm hearing wonderful things. So I just want to officially welcome you to Ormond Beach. I'm so happy that you're here.
You guys will just come right up front here. We'll stand behind you for a picture.
Tallest, shortest, or short
There.
person on the end.
Got it? All right. Thank you.
They're
Dismissed. Yep. We don't have bells. All right. The adoption of the fiscal year 2022-2023 proposed millage rates and tentative budget. Susan, if you would, please read the resolution.
Resolution number 2022-104, a resolution adopting proposed millage rates for the 2022-2023 fiscal year, establishing a date time and place for a public hearing to adopt final millage rates and final budget and setting forth an effective date. This is resolution number 2022-104, read by title only.
Thank you. Per Florida statute, I'm required to state that the proposed millage rate for the city of Ormond Beach necessary to fund the fiscal year 22-23 budget is 3.7610 mils. This rate is 5.68% above the rollback rate of 3.5587 mils. The tentative debt service millage rates are 0.0050 for the 2003 general obligation bond sinking fund and 0.0800 for the 2010 general obligation bond sinking fund. Any comments the commission would like to add regarding the tax rate or budget?
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. If you recall, at our workshop, I had concerns about some of the hires we were doing, which I disagree with at this time, which I think could have us have a lower rate, so I'm going to vote against this rate tonight.
Anyone else? This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak or ask questions prior to adoption of the tentative millage rate and budget? I don't have any cards. Just need a motion and second to adopt the tentative operating millage rate of 3.7610 mils and the debt service millage rates of 0.0050 and 0.0800.
So moved.
Well, I need a motion. You would be the motion maker for
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve resolution number 2022-104.
And is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. The tentative operating millage of 3.7610 mils is 5.68% above the rollback millage rate. The resolution also includes adoption of the tentative debt service millage rates of 0.0050 for the 2003 general obligation bond sinking fund and 0.0800 for the 2010 general obligation bond sinking fund. Please call the vote.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
No.
Mayor Partington.
Yes. The operating millage rate is set at 3.7610 mils, which is 5.68% above the rollback millage rate of 3.5587 mils. If you would, Madam Clerk, please read by title only ordinance number 22-26.
Ordinance number 2022-26, an ordinance adopting the annual budget for the 2022-2023 fiscal year beginning October 1, 2022 and ending September 30, 2023, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof and setting forth an effective date. This is the first reading of ordinance number 2022-26, read by title only.
Thank you. I need a motion and a second.
I'll move ordinance 2022-26.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the vote to adopt the budget of $112,493,789.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
No.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes. Do I hear any objection to closing the public hearing? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed, and we will move to approval of the minutes. Let me just double check. There's no cards, correct, Susan?
Correct, no cards.
Thank you. The minutes have been sent to the commission for review, posted to the city's websites. These are from the August 16th, 2022 regular city commission meeting. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections?
I move approval of the minutes from August 16th, 2022.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and we'll show those passing unanimously. The consent agenda, does anyone wish to pull anything from the consent agenda?
I'll move the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the vote.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes. Any commissioners wish to comment on any of the consent agenda items? If not, we will move to 9A.
Ordinance number 2022-27, an ordinance of the City of Ormond Beach, Florida, amending Article 3 Firefighters Pension Trust Fund of Chapter 16 Pensions and Retirement of the Code of Ordinances, amending Section 16-43 Establishment and Operation of Fund, Finances and Fund Management, providing for severability of provisions, providing for codification, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. This is the first reading of ordinance number 2022-27, read by title only.
Thank you. And I'll ask our Finance Director, Kelly McGuire, to give us a brief background.
Thank you, Mayor. So the Fire Pension Board is requesting some additional options for investment purposes, and they've limited this new investment class to 30% of the portfolio. So with that 30% limit, staff is recommending it.
Any questions for Kelly? I don't have any cards.
Yeah, Mayor, I do have a
Commissioner Selby.
Ms. McGuire. As I read through this, in this bull market where, equities are declining in value, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sort of looked like these alternatives really don't necessarily have a positive return, but they have sort of a zero return, which is
A
better
less
than
negative return?
losing. Yeah, better than losing, 8 or 10 or 12% a year. I mean, is that a fair?
That's a fair statement.
Okay. Wow, tough time. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Just need a motion in a second.
Move for approval ordinance number 2022-27.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes. 10A.
Resolution number 2022-109, a resolution declaring the results of the primary municipal election conducted in the city of Ormond Beach, Florida on Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022, authorizing the issuance of a certificate, setting forth an effective date. This is resolution number 2022-109, read by title only.
And we'll ask our city clerk, Susan Dodderis, to speak on this item.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. The purpose of this item is for the Commission to accept the results from the primary election that occurred on August 23rd for Commissioner Zone 1 seat. These results have been certified by the Volusia County Canvassing Board. And according to the city charter, if a candidate in the primary election receives over 50% of the votes, they are deemed elected, and there's not a need to proceed to the general election. In this case, Lori Tolland received 55.19% of the votes, therefore she is deemed elected for Commissioner Zone 1 seat. So there's no need to move on to the general election for this seat. So it's recommended that the Commission accept the results of the primary election.
Thank you. Any questions for the city clerk?
Mayor, do you need a motion?
Yes, please.
I'd like to move this item.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion or congratulations?
Yeah, I would just like to say, Ms. Tolland is here tonight and has been a friend for many years, and I just want to congratulate her publicly on a 27-point victory in a 3-person race. I mean, that really speaks to the message that you communicated to the voters was right on target. And I know you're going to do a great job because your history of service to the community, not just the city, but across the board in recreation, in the garden club, in so many other things that you've been involved with over the years. That I'm really, really excited to see you serve in this seat right here that I'm sitting in right now. Maybe sooner than later.
Commissioner Kent.
Thank you. Yes. Lori, your message resonated with the Zone 1 voters. And I'm pleased to say about 2 weeks before the election, you and I were chatting, and I told you, I said, I'm pretty good at picking this stuff. And my prediction is it's just a primary for you. And hey, congratulations. What a great win.
Good stuff. Deputy Mayor Persis.
Lori, I'm beyond proud of you. I know you worked so hard for a long time. You got right out there and just started working right away, and hard work pays off. You have a fabulous reputation, you and your family, your children, and everything you've done for the city of Ormond Beach over all these years. And I knew you when you were the PTA president of Tomoka Elementary a very, very long time ago. And even then, you were a take charge person, and people don't change. And you're going to, I know, take charge here and do a fabulous job. And I'm very proud of you.
And I'll say, Ms. Tullen, you have the exact qualifications needed to be the Zone 1 representative, and I believe the residents recognize that appropriately. So congratulations, and soon enough, we'll be seeing you up here. Congrats.
Everybody has said it so well that really there's not much left for me to say. Lori, people know your commitment to this community based on your prior service, and they see your heart for this area, for the people who live here, and I wasn't surprised by the results. I fully expected that, and so congratulations to you. I told you shortly after you won that if you had had $0, I would have expected the same result, but you were blessed to have a great amount of support from this community, which is well deserved. And I think it was Commissioner Kent that said your message resonated with the people, and they know you, they saw you, and they liked what they heard. So congratulations and welcome. Now we go to item 11, which is, do we need to vote?
Yes.
Man, felt like we had already done that. All right. Commissioner Selby did the motion.
I seconded it.
Commissioner Kent seconded. We had our discussion. Please call the vote.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes. And now we'll move to item 11. This is a discussion and direction item on impact fees. And we'll start with our planning director, Steven Spraker.
Good evening, Steven Spraker, Plan Director. If the Commission recalls, there was an authorization to do an impact fee study update to assess our current impact fees and to potentially look at new impact fees. Tonight's discussion item is detailing two studies performed by the city consultant, Raftalis Financial Consultants, and it seeks to obtain direction from the City Commission. The discussion tonight is basically the first step in a process of the impact fee study update. It'll extend into 2023, where there'll be public meetings with the development community, there'll be planning board and city commission workshops, and eventually an ordinance. So this is really kind of the first step of the process. Tonight's format is based off the city manager's memorandum in your packet, where there are discussion and direction points. So what we've done is try to break down the big impact fee study item into smaller bites and try to focus the discussion. Our PowerPoints are a little bit reduced from what was in your packet to kind of hone in the discussion. So within your packet, there were two studies. One was a water and wastewater utility connection fee analysis, and the other was the municipal impact fee analysis, basically all the other city impact fees. As an overall impact fee study, we wanted to make a few points. Impact fees are paid for new development and expansions that result from the increased demand. The fees are used to pay for growth-related facilities, so a turn lane on a road, not a pothole, not personnel. a park and rec gym, a recreation facility. So new items are used for impact fees. As part of the overall recommendation, there was a direction to name water and wastewater impact fees to connection fees. The state statute treats them a little bit differently, and Tony Harrison, he can talk on that. There is new legislation that our consultants have looked at and basically will advise us how to adopt impact fees. It's called the Florida Impact Fee Act. So we are aware of that and will abide by all the new state legislation. One thing that we've discussed previously is impact fee credits. Currently, our impact fee credits expire on a sliding scale by 10% for each year. After 10 years, they are basically, they're gone once the building is demolished. One of our first overall discussion direction points is the study recommended that no expiration of impact fee credits occur. And we're seeking direction, confirmation from the City Commission that they are okay with this recommendation. It is a recommendation based on other jurisdictions, how they handle impact fees. Once a development is built, they have impacts. If they demolish, they shouldn't lose those impacts. They'll carry forward as the property is redeveloped. So we were looking for direction.
You want us to go through point by point?
We were going to stop at each one. That way the commission can talk about this item at the end. What we can do is summarize them and
Good deal. Commissioner Selby, I think you've spoke on this before.
Yeah, I guess I can talk about this item, but I really would sort of like to go through the whole thing because as I read the PowerPoint at the end, there was opportunity for questions and answers. So maybe if we went through the whole thing and then came back to these decision points.
we can do that too.
Yeah.
That's direction.
Great, it's up to you all, but I'd like to see the total thing.
Yeah, let's do that.
So Tony Harrison is with Ratellis Financial Consultants. He's going to do the majority of the impact fees, and then we also have Stephanie Shipley with Kittleson and Associates, and she will do our transportation impact fees.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Tony Harrison, Vice President with Ratellis. I'm the project director on this project. Our project manager, Sean Ocasio, couldn't be here tonight. He's under the weather. He was responsible for all the day-to-day activities on bringing this pretty technical report together. And we do have our sub-consultant, Stephanie Shealy from Kittleson, who will be speaking on the mobility and road impact fees. And just to give you a brief overview, what I'm going to go through is, as Stephen mentioned, there's a PowerPoint in your packet. We have a shortened version, so I'm just going to hit the highlights and just slow me if I'm going too fast. Before I go into that, there is a technical report. There's actually two technical reports. One is water and sewer connection fees. The other is what we're calling municipal impact fees. That has the roads, the parks, and the feasibility on the police and fire and the stormwater as well. The reason they're separated is the statutes have evolved in the state, especially last year, 2021, becoming more restrictive. So we just want to make sure we separate the water and sewer as connection fees from the other impact fees. Essentially, though, what they're all funding is infrastructure, and really what you're doing is as new homes develop and new businesses develop, is you want to charge them for the infrastructure, whether it's parks, whether it's roads, water and sewer. So as they build and significant investment is made, that the infrastructure the city needs to serve that new growth, that they're paying their fair share, and you're not putting the burden on existing residents. So it's really, we're not looking at user fees, but what it does over time is it reduces the needs of user fees to pay for growth. Okay, so that's the goal of impact fees and connection fees specifically. Now we'll start with the water and sewer. Again, there's technical report with all the details. I'll take you through the water first and then the sewer. For water, for a typical single-family residential unit, we actually have the fee coming down right now. As future investment happens, and I'll talk about the Western Service Area, there may be a separation in the fees between the Western Service Area and the rest of the city. But for now, the water infrastructure is not as high as needed as the sewer infrastructure. You see it going down on single-family residential from $2,902 to $2,333. But you see the multifamily and mobile homes going up, and that's because the factors for those were really low historically, and we are upsizing those to what actual needs are for those multifamily per unit. So they're actually going up. They're not as high as single family, but they're 90%. So they're higher than what they are now on water, as shown here. I do have a comparison. Most that are getting services are getting water and sewer. So I'll take you through water and sewer and then compare the two. The next slide is the wastewater or sewer connection fees. You see those going up for single family, multifamily, and mobile home. For single family, most of your development is single family from $2,829 to $3,577. And if we go to the next slide, this compares taking both those fees, which most of your new development is paying both, and you see this is comparing to other municipalities in the area, going from $5,731 to $5,910 if the commission so approves these increases on water and sewer. And I mentioned before some other policy issues is the Avalon Park. Right now, we don't have all the full costs of what that's going to be and what the responsibility of the city is going to be as far as treatment for water, wastewater, the major transmission. Right now, we're setting the fees for the same for the western area, but go ahead and take the administrative step of separating the western service area from the rest of the city. That way, when it comes time to review the western service area, you already have a separated fee to look if there's more investment needed there, that those fees could be higher if it's supported. So again, go ahead and take the step of separating them, but they'll have the same fee for now. In the future, when you have those costs in, you'll go ahead and be able to review and, if need be, increase those fees just for that area.
If I might just interject here. You remember, Commission, that we have separated the capital budget for the Western Service area for those improvements just for that purpose as well.
And so our recommendations on the water and sewer is for the commission to consider adoption of these connection fees, review them periodically. Really the next step will be when you start having those capital numbers for the Western Service area. Create the two districts, and that would be in compliance or in conformity with how you're doing your capital improvements, as the city manager just mentioned, and then modification of the multifamily mobile homes to be 90% of the residential to represent what those demand factors are. And that's, again, the infrastructure that supports treatment plants, major transmission lines. Okay, so it's not funding meters, it's not funding personnel, as Stephen mentioned, but it is the major infrastructure that's being funded with these fees. And I will move on to the municipal impact fees, unless there's any questions.
Yeah, Mayor, if I may, can you explain why the water connection fee is going to go down for single family? It actually would go down for mobile homes and for multifamily.
Correct.
But that's a separate question. But
Yep.
why is it going down $569?
Well, the current fees were set quite some time ago, and we don't know exactly how the basis was at that time. I know back in the 2000s there was potential of desal plants off of Palm Coast that potentially would come down here. There was very expensive new water supply at that time. I don't know if those fees were based off that, but based off your costs now and the infrastructure and the availability of capacity now, these are your costs based on current, recent localized costs for water. It's lower than your current fee. So we're not, our task wasn't necessarily to justify your existing fee, but it was to justify what your current fee should be. Water was lower, wastewater was higher. What that does, though, is when you have new growth, more money will be going to wastewater where the higher dollar needs are. It's actually, unless you have very expensive future water supply, the cost of collecting wastewater, the infrastructure, collecting wastewater, treating it, disposing of it, typically can be a lot more expensive than water because you have the extra step of disposing of it.
So over the years, I don't recall exactly what year the current rates were established, but we've been collecting too much money on impact fees. Do we owe people a refund?
No, I think you have the projects to get those done, but if you keep collecting, say, the next 10 years, and that's one thing about connection fees is it's cumulative. It's not going to solve your issues in 6 months or a year, but it's cumulative over time. So looking at your investment, and again, water versus wastewater, the total's going up. So you're adjusting the balance to be more for wastewater and less for water. moving forward, if you keep on collecting for the next 10 or 20 years at this rate, then you could be in that situation. And then again, I will say, the Western Service Area, that could go right back up as soon as you have those costs in as well. And that's where most of your growth is going as well.
And then a follow-up question, because I kind of looked through your report and through all of the information, and I didn't see any discussion, any data, anything that explained on the multifamily going from 0.5 ELU to 0.8 ELU, or the mobile homes going from 0.6 ELU to 0.9 ELU. I'm just wondering, I mean, what's the basis for it?
Yeah, the basis of that is a couple of things. One is the recent trends is multifamily, the occupancy per household has gone up over time. These factors of 0.5 are older factors. When you look at usage around the state and locally as well, it tends to be more on par with single-family residential, the way that multifamily is being built.
Yeah, but there's
now.
not one calculation. There isn't any information in your report that demonstrates that or shows that. It's just, we recommend you raise it.
Right.
And actually, the thing that was really surprising was the single-family average household is 2.53 people. The apartments, multifamily, is 2.05. This is based on census data. And mobile homes are 1.68. And yet they're going to be at 0.9 compared to a single-family house, and they have almost one entirely fewer people. Get 2.5 people, 2.53 in a house, 1.68 in a mobile home, and 2.05 in an apartment, multifamily, and yet mobile homes are almost the same as a single-family residence and higher than the apartments. I don't get it. It's not logical. It doesn't track.
Yeah, I would say for the multifamily, those figures are more in line with where we're proposing you go. For the mobile home, the persons per household is lower, and part of the recommendation is simplify the calculations, because you do have mobile homes that do require more, and once you have a connection in place and you get the connection fees, it's a one-time receipt of those funds, and then you're having to have the infrastructure there. So we could review the mobile homes, historical versus any new ones. I don't think there's many in the city. I don't know if there's many. But we could certainly review that and review any other calculations that we have in the report or need to be put in the report.
And I guess, part of my concern is that mobile homes and multifamily apartments are a great, fantastic source of affordable housing, which we have one of the highest median assessed values in the entire county, which is in big part what allows us to have a low millage rate. And when you say, well, it's you only charge it one time, but the reality is that is a cost that gets passed along to the consumer, and either in the form of rent in an apartment or in the price to buy the home when they move into it, it's passed on to the buyer or onto the tenant. So I just would like to, I'd like to see the math. I'd like to see not just, well, we think they should do this, and especially when the occupants per household, because that's going to reduce the demand on the system. When they have so many fewer occupants.
Yeah, certainly we can review that. The technical report, as far as if that information's not in there, we can add that as well and provide some additional background.
Any other questions?
Okay, municipal impact fees.
Yep.
So again, I think we've covered that it's future expansion, new development, and the growth-related facilities. And again, the dual rational nexus test is diving in a little bit more as a case law. And the statutes sort of follow the case law where you have a rational nexus between what you're charging the fee for and how you're collecting it and what you're spending the funds for as well. And again, they're based off of the city's capital costs and your infrastructure needs as well. And they're not used, this is important, I'm not sure if we mentioned this before, is they're not used to fund any deficiencies. So if you're replacing basketball courts or anything like that, it's only for new facilities or expanding of facilities or new park area. It's based off of a service area forecast through 2040, depending on the assets of what their service life is, with population growth based off of Census Bureau, the Florida Bureau of Economic Research, and projections that the city is using for its other capital planning. And so the population you're looking at is 43,000 now, going up to 50,000 by 2040, with dwelling units from 18,000, almost 500 to over 21,000 by 2040. So that's the service area in the future. Additional information is in the report in your packet. I'll go to the Parks and Recreation fee and summarize that. This is an area that we're seeing across the state, a lot of investment in parks and recreation, with an interest of having that infrastructure for parks and improved parks. The city current land area is adequate to meet some growth, but it's improving that park area. Your existing fee is $1,312 for residential. Your current infrastructure with capacity and new that is outlined in the capital summary can support almost doubling that fee to $2,500 for residential. And you see those multifamily mobile home coefficients we talked about before. Now the statutes limit the increase to these municipal impact fees that the commission, if it approves it, can approve 50%, has to do over 4 years. That would be, instead of going to $2,500, to only go to $1,968. If the commission finds an extraordinary need with a couple of, it has to have a couple of workshops in your jurisdiction, it can find support for going to the full $2,500 fee as shown here. So that will be a decision we're going to come to a couple of times in this presentation. Is this commission support a full parks fee of $2,500, or which would require extraordinary circumstances and a couple of workshops to support that and documentation, or just limit it to 50%, which would need to happen over 4 years. So you would not get to $1,968 until 4 years. And here's a comparison just so you can see currently at right above the average of others at $1,312. With the 50% fee, you'd be at $1,968. With the full fee, it's not shown on here, it would be $2,500. So you'd be higher among the areas. If we did a wider survey, there's others that are at $2,500, $3,000. We're looking at others that are much higher than that as well. As we're seeing an emphasis on park improvements as a major infrastructure around the state. And so I just want to point out that you would be at the highest, at least in the region, with these fee levels. And so these are the two questions that we come back to at the end: is it should be capped at $1,968 or go to $2,500? And then if the commission finds it extraordinary, would you want to do it all at one time or phase it in, say, over a 2-year period? If you find it extraordinary, we really wouldn't recommend phasing it in more than a 2-year period. If you go through the findings of finding extraordinary, it would make sense to do it a little bit faster.
Have you helped other communities find extraordinary?
Yes.
And can you give us a couple examples of what would be extraordinary?
The cost increases being extraordinary, the growth, the growth bubble or the growth burst, I would say, that's happening. And there's some findings similar to that, and then have the requisite workshops with the development community to show the good faith effort of getting feedback. And I will say, in general, if you have a good plan, it's thought out, it's thoughtful as far as the improvements you're doing. Generally, and of course this is the economy we're in, the developers generally aren't opposed to it if they feel like the city is a good steward and providing those benefits that they can sell to their future homeowners. But a couple workshops, and we do have the language to help. And we do have a expert attorney that's helped us on our team to help navigate how the city would do that as well. One analysis before I hand it over to Stephanie for a few minutes is stormwater impact fee. There is currently the city does charge an impact fee for stormwater of $119, and we're recommending eliminating that. We've looked into this in other jurisdictions. For stormwater, the infrastructure is different than say a water and sewer as far as the backbone and treatment plants and so forth. It tends to be a little bit more localized, and $119 really doesn't fund much anyway. And so what the city does have is a stormwater fee, and just as a comparison, the stormwater fee, which is $7 for residential, funds about $2.5 million a year of the stormwater fund. It funds operations, some capital, not a lot. In comparison, the impact fee in stormwater a couple years ago, it funds about $25,000. So it's a 100-fold difference. So our recommendation is to concentrate on the stormwater fee, which is an ongoing fee. Stormwater is the requirements are two. Is one, when new development builds, that it builds to current regulations, retention, and so forth. So that's on the developer already, and then it's maintaining that and operating it. That's where the stormwater fee comes in. That's where we recommend the city concentrate and not worry about the impact fee. It's administrative. It's another fee, and it really doesn't allow the city to have any meaningful improvements. This slide has a comparison of your stormwater fee, your third on the right here at $7, and you see the average of the others. You charge it, I believe, annually. We just put this on a monthly basis, average about $9. The trend really on stormwater and retention and water quality are really a lot higher than $7. So that's something for the city to consider in the future. For those type of improvements, but for this study, we recommend just eliminating the impact fee on new development. And with that,
Commissioner Selby.
Yeah, I'd just like to comment on that. I think I agree with you on that recommendation, reluctantly. Because, and the reason I say that is I think stormwater is going to be, first of all, it is a major contributor to the degradation of water quality. In the Halifax River and in any water body, stormwater runoff is a significant contributor, and I believe the state of Florida is going to get more aggressive on this over time. However, when you look at what an impact fee is supposed to do, it's to manage the impact of the new growth. The developer, whoever creates the new thing, is doing it, like you just said, doing everything that he's supposed to do according to the water management district and the local codes and so forth. So there is no additional impact. What's going to happen, I think, is we're going to have to go back into a lot of these existing neighborhoods and say, what are we doing right now? We probably have a whole bunch of storm drains that don't even have catch basins or have minimal catch basins, and so stuff is just going right into the water. And in the old days, that's what we wanted to do because the streets were flooded. We wanted to get rid of it. My good friend Dwight Durant is in the crowd here today, and he's probably thinking, Selby, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. But I think that's going to be a big deal in the future, and I'm glad that we collect $2.5 million a year now. We probably need more than that in the future, and we need a real program. The city needs a real program to figure out where can we get the biggest bang for our buck, in modifying, improving existing stormwater locations, existing runoff. So
Dwight, and could maybe help me with this. You just convinced me that I would really like to keep a little stormwater money there.
Yeah, the problem with that is, as I understand it, and there's many experts here that are a lot smarter than I am. you can only collect this fee to cure a problem that is created by the new growth. And I think the problem is existing now. And if the problem's existing now, it came from the old growth. Okay? So you can't use that money you would collect from the developer to fix the old problem. You have to use, current money, cash flow or whatever, to fix the problem. So, yeah.
And you're correct when you say that the developer is required to build to the St. John River Water Management standards, so he's essentially paying for it up front.
He's cured all of the problems that he's creating. He's cured in his development. So there is no future problem from his. Now, there might be, because down the road we might say, well, wait, there's a better way to do that. Because all the old subdivisions were built by the standards then, whatever the standard was then. What we're figuring out over time is we need to improve our standards. We need to raise our standards. So, anyway.
Okay, I will be back in a minute to conclude with the police and fire recommendations on the feasibility, but I'm going to hand it over to Stephanie Shealy, who's our expert about roads and mobilities.
Hello, Stephanie Shealy, Kittleson and Associates. Here to talk about your local roads and your mobility fees. So there are actually two different fees here in the city. Your local road fee covers most of the city boundary, and your mobility fee only covers development within a quarter mile of some of your major corridors that are considered your transportation concurrency exception areas. So those roads that you say they're built out, you can't widen them any further, they have a mobility fee assessed, whereas development on any other road in the city is assessed via your local road impact fee. So as you can see, and there's a lot of different land uses on this chart, we are proposing significant impact or increases to a lot of the local roads impact fees. And this is due to a couple of reasons. One is the cost of construction of roadway improvements has greatly increased since the last time a fee was put in place here. The other reason it has increased is a slight change to the methodology we used. In the past, they said, we can expect all this growth to happen in the next 30 years in the city of Ormond Beach. And they said, how many trips is that going to generate? And they divided it by the cost of a couple of roadway projects. Now, in that case, the growth was extremely high as compared to what that roadway need was going to be. So the cost per improvement was fairly low. What we've done now is actually looked at what is the cost to add one trip to one lane of roadway and base the cost off of that. So you're actually going down to the cost, what is the cost of every trip generated on your roadway network? So like I said, lots of different variables go into this. So we're looking at how many trips a land use will generate, and then an assessed trip length. Because the city really only has control over city roads, and Volusia County also implements road impact fees, we had to take out whatever percent of that length of that trip is on county roads and state roads. So we're looking at what is the length of trip on city roads and percent of new trips. So if you're driving home tonight and you need gas, you're going to pull over. You're already a trip on the road, even if that gas station is new. So you only get charged for the new trips your land use generates. And like I said, then we looked at the cost of building a lane of capacity and kind of came up with that lane mile cost. That goes in looking at the gas taxes, so they get credit because everyone driving the roads pays gas taxes. So you take out what that fee is for gas taxes, and that's how we get to our total impact fee for the local roads. Mobility fee has a lot of the exact same variables as your local roads impact fee, but because we're looking at an area where we're not necessarily able to build more roadway capacity, we look at it on person trips. So now this fee can go to funding better improvements to bike peds, transit operations on those corridors as well. And we can calculate the person trip rate for each land use. And that's something that some land uses we have rates available, some we have a calculation for. So when you compare the costs of some of the current impact fees versus the proposed, and then looking at other local jurisdictions, even with the significant increases to a lot of these land uses, you're still lower than a lot of your surrounding jurisdictions other than Daytona Beach. The other thing that we know kind of sticks out here is something like fast food, where that fee shot way up. And the reason for that is when you look at a fast food restaurant, it generates a lot of traffic per square footage of the building. Small buildings, lots of traffic. If the city is not interested in having a very significantly high rate, if we go, oh wait, we'll never get another fast food restaurant in town and we want that, we can remove that fast food land use and charge them as a regular restaurant. So there are ways we can say, hey, some of these fees, we understand that yes, a fast food restaurant will generate a little bit more, but this fee is very high based on trip gen. Let's see what other land use it could go under. And so coming back to our local roads, same kind of question as Tony was asking. You do not necessarily have to charge the full justifiable impact fee. So if the city wants to encourage development, you can say, okay, we want to set these at 50% of the recommended, or along those lines, you can take that percentage. And then also, do you want to impact, or if you want to do this extraordinary circumstances to do this raise, do you want to increase it over a 2-year period or a one-time increase? So it's the same kind of question we asked about some of the other impact fees. Any questions on local roads that I can answer?
Commissioner Sullivan.
The mobility fee, that's what we call it, mobility
Yes.
fee, that's for the roads that aren't able to be expanded.
Right.
Okay.
And it's for any development within, I think, a quarter of a mile of
Okay.
those corridors.
And, okay, so, and then is the money restricted to only be used for alternative? I mean, if you can't build a road because those roads are they can't be widened, can you only use the money for trails and bike and, alternative?
You could potentially use it for parallel facilities. So if you want to increase capacity on a parallel facility to relieve the road, you can do that. Or like I said, other improvements that help increase the capacities of those roadways.
Okay, and this may not be a good question for you because you might not know, but I just, as I was reading through the road section, I was trying to think of a city road that the city built. And, maybe somebody can help me with that. I mean, can you give me some examples of roads that the city built
I
recently?
believe they built the extension of Division, so the Division didn't go all the way through. I think Wilmette had sections that were extended by the city. Again, it could fund parallel facilities, it could do turn lanes, so it doesn't have to be a full new road. You are going into the North US 1 corridor that has a lot of local roads that have never been fully built by the county, so you're going to have costs related to those. Pineland Trail is a road that you could add capacity to. So there will be needs as you go into the North US 1 corridor.
And are there zones for these impact fees within the city?
They're citywide.
Okay, so we collect the money on the south side, we can spend it on the north side.
Yes,
Okay, all right, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Persis.
Is a trail considered a road?
No, a bike pedestrian trail is just considered a multimodal facility. So that is considered a capacity improvement because you're able to move people on a trail that takes them out of a car for short trips.
So could you use this money for that?
Yes, you can
Okay.
use this money for
Okay.
trips.
So I have one question.
Commissioner Little.
The mobility fee, can that money be used for land acquisition for an expanded road?
I am not 100% sure.
Not just right away,
That's
like
part-
buying if some piece of parcel that has building on it, if we wanted to.
To purchase it for a road capacity improvement?
Yeah.
Right, yes, as long as you're doing a road capacity improvement, that's a new capacity, yes.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I have another question. I don't know if you have this slide, you can put it up or not, but Susan, maybe you can put this up. It's page 912 in our packet. This is the page where you do the math. Well, not the formula, but where you talk about total number of trips per day, 312,315. Total of 3,070,000 vehicle miles traveled, average trip length, and this is the one that really jumped out at me. Average trip length, 9.83 miles. Okay? Almost 10 miles. And then when I did the math, and maybe I'm doing the math wrong, but I took our population and divided our population into the total number of trips, and it was like, I think it was like 10 a day.
That is on average a number. So you leave your house in the morning to go to work. A trip for your particular house is the trash guy coming, the school bus coming through your neighborhood, a delivery van coming. So a residential neighborhood or a residential home, on average, based on lots of trip generation studies, is approximately 10 trips per day.
So it's all those Amazon trucks.
Yeah.
And that yard guy that parks and blocks the lane.
Yeah, so it's not just your particular house, but it's all trips generated by having a house there.
Okay.
So yeah, and these numbers came from a regional model. We have, it baffles my mind, I have other people who know this model so much better than I do, but it's a 7-county model, and it takes every population and employment center in that 7-county region and plops it on the map and puts all the roads in and says go, and it shows how people travel between locations, and so that's what we use to kind of generate how many trips originate in the city of Ormond Beach. Obviously, going 9 miles, some of them leave the city. So we were looking out of that 9.83 mile trip, only 5% of that is on city maintained roads. So that's where we got from.
So, but there's a huge increase in what you're recommending, what we're at now, and what you're recommending, right?
Yeah. Well, and like I said, so when I looked at the previous study, there's kind of the two main ways to calculate impact fees. The growth that they assumed over a 20-year period, you guys, I think, have seen about 25% of that. And you've done all of the roadway improvements that they had done. So they had used, like, the city of Ormond Beach has the potential to grow the X amount, and we're dividing that over the cost of these 5 roadway improvements. So in this case, we're actually looking at what's that cost of one trip on the road.
So the fee is artificially low.
The fee was artificially low.
They projected a huge growth, and the growth was more modest, collected a smaller fee on a smaller number, resulting in not enough money. Okay.
And also some of the fees, the road construction costs have skyrocketed in the past 15 years, so that also contributes to that. All right.
Anyone else? Thank you.
So any other questions? And I will turn it back over to Tony.
Okay. In addition to the fees that the city already has, there was a couple that we were asked to look at the potential of police and fire impact fees. And so we just did a feasibility level analysis on both of those, and we find both of them feasible to be able, you have the infrastructure, the need, and so forth. Here, first of all, for police, we also did a comparison, so you can see how others are charging. So the average of others that charge police is $268. We've seen it higher, especially if there's public safety buildings involved. They're very, very expensive. If it's a facility that's been built a while ago, the fees tend not to be that high. It's more on smaller stations and cars and so forth. So assuming your fee came in somewhere, say $250, again, whatever fee you come up with needs to be on your data and so forth. That would generate about $800,000 by 2040. Likely a little bit more than that. It seems a little bit low, but just call it $1 million there of funding you have on police infrastructure. Similar to fire as well, is average of $271. Again, that could be higher. We've seen public safety buildings, so dual purpose sometimes. Those fees tend to be a lot higher depending on where in the growth cycle those are done and the size of the community. But just say $250, again, another $800,000 there on funding. That could be new equipment, new stations, and so forth. And so that would be something by time an ordinance in 2023 that could be prepared if the city commission gave us direction to do so. And again, one thing I'll just state, I may not have said it before, is whatever impact fee you're charging has to stay in a segregated fund, or at least the funds need to be segregated, so you can't use police impact fees to fund parks, for example. So they do need to be segregated, so I wanted to point that out. And just to bring everything together, there's a comparison right here of the combined fees currently. The city's at 1,594. This is just the police, or the municipal, the parks, the mobility, the roads, and the stormwater going away. You're at 1,594. You'd go to $2,833 with the cap on the parks. If you remember, there was a cap. If you went to the full 2,500, this chart would actually be $3,300. It would be fourth from the left. So if you did the full implementation of the parks, you wouldn't be the highest on all this, but you'd be a little bit above the average upon full implementation. And that's static, where some of these others are reviewing their fees right now. For example, Port Orange. So, they're at the right end. We'll see where they are in a year. Obviously, those change over time. And just in summary, I'm going to do a summary, and I'm going to hand it over to Stephen. I've got a couple other thoughts. Again, the recommendations we've been through them all on the parks and local roads, and elimination of the stormwater. Consider establishment of the police and fire impact fees. Review them periodically. There is a 90-day grace period when you implement the fee before they become effective. So the development community has plenty of time to build this into their pro forma as well. As far as the question of affordability, there are a few things that can be reviewed. We can review the coefficients. Okay. At an extreme, the statutes now allow, if it's an affordable housing qualified project, the commission could waive impact fees for those. So that's maybe a little more of an extreme, but in those circumstances, they can be waived. Or there's other ways, not as common, but you could review either the coefficients on the multifamily, or sometimes not as common, but housing size. If it's a smaller house, it's more affordable. Can you make the case that there's less demand, less population, less demand? So you could look at, further segregating the residential. Makes it a little bit more complicated, but could achieve, if the commission so desires, some more affordability goals as well. So we can look into those as we move forward. And with that, I'm going to hand it to Stephen to summarize, I guess, the summary of discussion.
So what we've done is we've put all the discussion direction points together. So however the commission desires to do it, we seeking direction. And we heard the ELU, so we'll go back and work on that, and also the affordability. So those two would be added to these.
I'd like to just go down the line and let everybody give their opinion 1 through 8, if that works. Commission? Yep. All right. We'll start with Commissioner Selby.
So maybe just take each one and all of us express our opinion, then go to the next one.
Yes.
I think that way that would be less confusing. Okay, so overall, I've spoken about this several times, that this doesn't make any sense to me, and it discourages demolition. So eliminating this penalty of losing impact fee credits is a great thing. So I'm 100% yes on number one.
Yes, I agree with Commissioner Selby. When I met with staff, commission, I'll just tell you, the same concept, mind thought that Commissioner Selby had, I had on this, but I thought it's sort of like, someone bought my truck before I bought it, and they paid sales tax, and then I bought it, and I had to pay sales tax, and when I sell it, someone's going to pay sales tax, and when someone else buys it, they're going to pay sales tax, and enough is enough. So these credits have been established, and I think it's the right thing.
I agree.
Correct. I do not. So what we're saying is, we do want the decrease in impact fees. Oh no, current regulations decrease impact fee credits. No, we don't want that. Right. That's correct.
correct?
We would be eliminating
Yes.
right now,
Yes.
every year it goes down.
Yes.
And so we would be eliminating that, and then you get 100% of the credit
Yes.
forever,
Right. That's
No
very
expiration.
smart. Yes.
Yep.
no expiration.
I agree with that as well. So we're unanimous on number 1. Number 2, 50% or maximum, and let's see. Commissioner Selby, we'll start with you on that one.
Okay, so I think this community really values parks and recreation, and but man, we're talking about, it's a lot of money. I mean, what's being proposed, the maximum is going from $1,312 to $2,500 on a single-family house. On an apartment, it's from $1,048 to $2,021. On a manufactured home, it's going from $785 to, it would go from $785 to $1,658. I mean, now that, if we modify the coefficients on the multifamily and on the manufactured home, that will, I'm assuming we would lower it, that would decrease the amount of the increase, because that's a multiplier there that's pretty huge. Having my kids grow up and play soccer at the sports fields, and I think we're ready. We just updated the master plan on Parks and Rec. I mean, I think this community is ready for this. I think this is a way to do it, to generate some additional revenue. I don't recall do we have do we have any math, any kind of projection on how much money this would actually generate?
No, we could do that going forward. We could take the past residential and give projections, but we didn't do it for this.
I mean, if we can figure out the coefficients for apartments and manufactured homes, I think I could support going to the max. There is a process. I read through the state statute last night, and there's a process. The gentleman spoke about it. It requires a 2/3 vote of the commission to pass it. It requires 2 public hearings. I think there are 2 workshops and public participation and so forth. So there is a process to do that, to go above 50%, which we would be doing. But and also the other caveat I got to say is that I really didn't look at any of the lady mentioned the fast food. I didn't really look at any of the commercial uses in depth at all. I really just kind of focused in on the residential categories as I sort of looked at this. But so I guess I'm a tentative yes.
Commissioner Kent.
Yes. So when I sat down with staff and looked at this, it was sticker shock immediately. But then Commissioner Selby, very much like you, I said, I don't know of another community that has the recreation at the level that we have, that we provide for our community, than Ormond Beach. We're second to none. I've never been at another recreation facility at another city and thought, wow, this is better than Ormond Beach. In fact, we hear the opposite. When visitors come and they have tournaments here, they rave about what we offer our residents and our visitors alike. So with that being said, Commission, I actually could go with the maximum on this, and I'm going to answer question number 3 as well, is that it's not the impact fee increase over a 2-year or a multi-year or a one-time increase. I'm okay with the one-time increase. I don't know if Commissioner Sugden wants to go back and do that one real quick.
Well, I'm a little unclear. I think, doesn't it have to be over 2 years if you go to special? No, you can do it in 1 year?
I'll clarify too, if you don't do the extraordinary, then If you do the 50%, the lower fee, you have to do it over 4 years. So if you don't do extraordinary, you will have to phase that in over 4 years. But if you do the extraordinary, you can do that right away.
Interesting.
Like the state legislature,
Interesting.
one-time get out of jail free card.
Yeah. Right.
Because you won't be able to raise these fees, but once every 4 or 5 years.
4 years, right?
Yeah, I'll just say also, Mayor, before my time expires here, we did a study. It must have been 10 plus years ago, close to it. Because I didn't know, maybe many of you don't know, but every sporting activity, every recreational piece in the city of Ormond Beach that's offered to our residents is subsidized by you and me and all of us, the taxpayers. And whenever I looked at that number, it was amazing. Like, if my memory's right, baseball and softball were the highest. And it was like $1,400 per participant. The taxpayers subsidize. And, if you're a city resident, I think you pay $75 for the season. And if you're out of the city, I think it's like $120, or it used to be when Wyatt was playing ball here. But our residents have always told me, like, that's where they want the money spent. They want our first responders, our roads, and our recreation. That's what they want. So that's why I'm okay with the maximum.
Deputy Mayor Persons.
Yeah, I think recreation is so important in our city. And growing up here, I think of the improvements that the city has made all through the years. And I think of all the children that have enjoyed the soccer, the baseball, everything that's out there at our fields. It's incredible. I actually have just been talking to some parents, and they would like to see a football field in Ormond Beach at one of our parks. I mean, out there, our recreation. I mean, think about that. We could have our own football field, and people don't have to drive so far way out to LPGA. It's kind of dangerous for kids to drive out there at night anyway, kind of my thoughts, but that would be a really cool thing to happen. But, I'm just talking out loud about that. But I am definitely in favor of number 2, and I'm willing to go to the maximum on that. And on number 3, definitely a one-time.
Thanks. Commissioner Littleton.
Thank you. So we know that the next new facility in Ormond Beach is going to be on the west side, right? And that's going to cost millions of dollars to have something out there. And so that's not cheap. So having the fee done at one time as an extraordinary circumstance would be the method I would prefer. And making it the maximum, yes, is what I would prefer.
Good deal. And I am different in that I would want to see the revenue generation that would result from going to the max versus the 50% increase. The 50%, if that's where I was leaning, and I would like to see that with a 90-day grace implementation period, and then over 4 years. But it depends on what the projects are going to be and what the dollar amount difference is. I could be swayed to go along with possibly the maximum supportable. I just don't know that I'm there just yet. So that's where I'm at. And I really, on all of them, I'm for the 90-day grace period and then the multi-year phasing. Right. And the multi-year phasing on all of them. So we'll go to stormwater. Commissioner Selby, recommendation to eliminate.
Yeah, that's fine. Yes.
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 And yes. And now we're on local roads.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Commissioner Selby. Yep, it's under.
First.
So 5 and 6 are both the same, they're timing things, right? They're like, is it one
2 year,
time?
1 year.
I'm a little confused. I'm sorry. If it's less than 50%, which these are 50% or less, right? The only one that was above 50% is Parks and Rec, right? So we're not recommending a max right here.
They're all great. The increases will all be greater than 50% for local roads.
Are you sure?
Yes, because the current single family is like 162 and the proposed is 864.
Oh, for roads, yeah,
Right.
roads.
So,
Okay.
so they're all substantial increases based on the factors.
Oh, yeah, okay. So therefore, it is eligible for one, you can do it in 1 year because it's extraordinary circumstances.
Correct.
Okay. I guess if you're going to do it, you might as well do it.
Right.
I mean, what's the, I don't think a builder is going to say, oh, well, gee, if I get it done this year, they're building the houses as fast as they can. They're pulling the permits as soon as they know there's demand. So that is a topic that I wanted to talk about, which, at some point, I don't know, I guess I've talked enough, but, we are heading into what some predict to be a very severe recession, and which could last a long time. And so, is there the potential, and I'm just throwing it out there, but is there the potential that it would take us longer to come out of the recession because of these increased fees? Are builders going to opt for another community? I don't know, but it's something to think about. It'd be awful to be sitting here 3 or 4 years from now and saying, man, now we always could, at that point, and Joyce correct me, but at that point, if we were under that circumstance, we could waive or abate or do something to impact fees, right? Is that correct or no?
I will tell you before Stephen gets up there, the county is undergoing their own study right now, and they're having the very same discussion that you all are having today. So, and as the gentleman said, that there are other communities that are also, so I don't think that someone would go to Port Orange versus Ormond Beach because of that, but they might go someplace South Florida or West Florida. Go ahead.
So if you look at the existing fee or the proposed fees, other than Daytona Beach, the city of Ormond Beach is below the rest of the survey communities. So our fees are going up, but not substantially different than the other jurisdictions. The city commission can always take upon itself to do a new impact fee analysis. So if you believe that the conditions have changed in the data analysis, whether it be your capital cost or your population projections, you can always do a new study and come up with the new impact fees. So that's what this study really does. It takes your capital needs versus your level of service, and it comes out with the maximum fee that you can charge.
Well, that's interesting, and this process has taken, to get us to this point, has taken, almost a year, hasn't it?
Yes, sir.
So, what I'm talking about is sort of an emergency thing that we, this commission recognizes that, the fees are a hindrance to, or maybe said another way, eliminating the fees temporarily, suspending those fees temporarily might stimulate some development that we wouldn't get otherwise. Maybe that would capture some attention. Some builders would say, wow, I've been thinking about building in Ormond, but man, that'll save me $5,000-6,000. So my question is that possible? Can you do that?
Let us take a
Can the
look
city
at it.
do that?
I don't think we have the answer for you tonight. So
Okay.
let us take a look
All
at
right.
it, and then as we move forward, we'll come up with a response.
All right, thank you.
So on 5 and 6 transportation, Commissioner Selby.
I say one
single-
time,
single-
just whack them right now.
Commissioner Kent.
So interesting, because I don't know that we'll get through this, because 3 of us have 4 more meetings up here. So there's going to be a new commission who are really going to weigh in on this. But I know that they respect the people up here and our thought process with it. And I'll answer the question on 5 and 6 in just a moment, but commission and future commission, I've got to tell you, there's a couple of things here that don't sit well with me. And I'll get to those in just a moment. But the first thing is our residents understand and they know. I've always said the smartest voters in the world, they get it right all the time, is growth doesn't pay for itself. And they don't like that. okay? And they also know that the impact fees aren't enough. And growth doesn't pay for itself. That being said, this increase for fast food restaurants is outrageous at 1,000 square feet. So, I mean, maybe it's the largest fast food restaurant, in the area. They're going to do a 4,000 square foot restaurant, but they're looking at a $100,000 impact fee for that restaurant. Convenience store, outrageous. So if you're late to the party and you're a fast food restaurant or convenience store, you're going to get hammered. So who was late to the party in Ormond Beach? I think it was Chick-fil-A. Zaxby's. Took a long time to get Chick-fil-A here. And people love it. I'll admit, I've gotten in that crazy line wrapped around the building. Your family loves what your family loves. But maybe they say, nah, not Ormond Beach. Not with numbers like that. That's just a little bit silly. So, convenience stores and fast food, the hammer's too hard on them. I want to just brag for a second about something Commissioner Selby mentioned earlier. And one of the things I love about the different commissions we've served with is I've served with dentists and small business owners and teachers and lawyers, and I always really pay attention whenever they're talking about something that's in their realm that they know about. And Commissioner Selby, this is like his wheelhouse. You all don't know, but I'm looking over here. All these numbers that they've given us. Commissioner Selby has a spreadsheet that he's made by hand. Okay, he's got it here by hand, so he's prepared for this. And I agree with what you said earlier. Some of those numbers that we were given, and thank you for the job you did, but there wasn't a good response as to how you came up with that. We were talking about mobile homes and single-family homes and multifamily homes. I had those same questions, but you asked them, and that's because you're more of an expert in that field, I believe, than any of us. So I appreciated that, and because of that, it made me question more of this study. If that's not a good common sense answer, what about the rest of it? It just takes one to make you scratch your head and go, is this all skewed information? Is it all off a little bit? Am I being fed bad info? There's no doubt about it in my mind, our impact fees need to increase. There's no doubt in my mind our residents want that and expect that. But that fast food and that convenience store, it makes me want to put the brakes on the whole thing. Like it's a concern, a big concern. So, to now answer the questions, it's a yes one time for 5 and 6.
Perfect. Deputy Mayor Persis, thank you.
It's a yes for me on 5 and 6.
Commissioner Littleton, thank you.
Can I ask Stephen a question?
Sure.
On where this is for a new road in the city. Where or capacity on existing road. That's the mobility fee would be that, right? Okay. Where would the next road that the city would have to maintain? Where would that possibly be? Up in
There's a project tomorrow night on Flagler Road where there is no existing road. As part of development, we're making that applicant build a whole new road to access his project. So Flagler Road would be one. Think of the North US 1 corridor, Gowers. There's Flagler. South of Broadway is unimproved right now. Pineland Trail comes to mind. So there are roads that are substandard that could have capacity improvements. You could add shoulders to them. You can add turn lanes. These funds are for the cost, the impacts to the local roads. And don't, division hand, those could potentially have turn lane improvements and other capacity improvements. So the city has a lot of local roads, which they have a lot of growth-related projects that are needed. And these numbers are based on trips. So the fast food and the convenience store, while shocking, they all generate a lot of trips. They may be passersby, they may be internal captured, but they all generate a lot of trips.
right. That's that was my thought, if we had a new road in the Ormond Crossings area, I will drive to Chick-fil-A just for Chick-fil-A.
Sure.
And come back. So if we had a new road there, people would be utilizing that road for a fast food chain, and a lot of people do, especially Chick-fil-A, as everyone knows. So a future commission can determine whether or not they're too high or too low, or too high. But if it's done, it should be a one-time fee for both. That's what I'll say.
Good deal. Yep, one time on both for me. And now the police work authorization regarding a police impact fee. Did you want to talk any more about that, Stephen? Or
So the police and fire were not part of the initial services. There was a feasibility. In order to establish a police and fire impact fee, the consultants need to do the data analysis. They've done some preliminary ones. The cost estimate that was included in your packet, I think, was $31,555. If the commission would like to pursue those fees, we would need to do that. We do believe that they would generate some revenue. It's not life-changing amount of revenue, but it could help for vehicles, equipment, expansions, emergency operations center, if that's something that's decided in the future. So it's a financing tool that could help supplement what you already have.
and the 31,000 is for both,
Correct. Yes,
not
sir.
each.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Selby.
Yeah, I'm a yes on both of these. Public safety is the single most important responsibility of a municipality, of a city. And, and the fact that in reading through the statute that you can buy vehicles, fire engines and police cars and motorcycles and so forth I like that. I'm
Would
glad
supplement
the legislature
your
put it
already
in.
existing
Exactly. So we can do that and buy more of them and get them by 10 or 12 a year instead of 6 or 8 or whatever we're buying on the cruisers. So we get the cops in good cars. So yeah, I'm all in on this for sure.
Thank you. Commissioner Kent.
I'm a yes for 7 and 8.
Deputy Mayor Persis.
Yes, I am as well a yes for 7 and 8, and I'm excited that if this would happen, that the police and fire could get extra equipment along with vehicles, because there's always new things coming that makes their job better and more efficient, and that means safety for our citizens. So I'm definitely in favor of that.
Thank you. Commissioner Littleton.
Yes.
And I'm a yes on both as well. So do you need anything else, Stephen? Thank you to our professionals for your
Yeah, thank you.
detailed analysis, and Stephen, you as well. We appreciate it. We'll move to reports, suggestions, and requests, and tonight we start with City Manager Joyce Shanahan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commission. We appreciate your patience in walking through that. It was a lot of sausage being made, but it was necessary for us to have this information before we went any further to start any kind of, come back to you with that, and then start the very long sort of public process. As Stephen mentioned, it's 2 public hearings, and it has to go to the planning board, and those are code amendments, so that has 2 more public hearings, and it comes back to the commission, so it's a long process. So first of all, I want to say tonight that we are going to be again commemorating September 11th with a Memorial Bridge Walk. That will happen on, is that Sunday?
Yes.
Sunday, September 11th. It's a way for us to remember the 343 FDNY firefighters, 37 Port Authority officers, and 23 NYPD officers who lost their lives during a tragic 2001 event. We will take place here at front of City Hall. The event will start at 8:30 with a small dedication and remembrance, and the walk will officially begin at 8:46, which coincides with the first impact into the World Trade Center. The route will proceed over the bridge eastbound and continue under the bridge through Rockefeller Garden to Fortunato Park and then back over. Participants may choose to walk an additional lap, finishing with 3.43 miles, which would coincide with 343 fallen members of FDNY. This event is expected to last less than an hour. Water and rest stations will be provided, and the public is also invited to walk to help us remember those. So there's the flyer. Jen will push it out on social media, and we had a wonderful turnout on the 20th anniversary, and so we hope to have a likewise turnout this year. The facility hardening has been going on. You might remember that we had a FEMA grant to help with that, and so we're finishing up at the Public Works and Fleet facility next week, so we're happy to report that. The Wilmette Pump Station project, also funded through FEMA, is coming to a conclusion. This project is installing a permanent pump station on Laurel Creek to add drainage of this stream prior to major storm events. You've probably seen them doing that work out there. There's two planning board meeting, Tattersall, September 8th at 6 p.m., Commission Chambers. It's a PRD, issuance of a development order for Tattersall. Then you have the North Interchange PBD coming up. Those are just some future meetings about those. There's two neighborhood meetings. The Storch Law Firm will conduct one at the Trails Clubhouse for the 3-story climate-controlled self-storage building being proposed at 1 Old Kings Road. And then the Cobb Cole Law Firm will conduct one on September 14th at 6 p.m. at the Ormond Beach Regional Library right across the way here for 2 vacant sites for proposed 137-room hotel on the east side of SR A1A and 15 single-family homes on the vice versa. Hotels on the east side, the single-family homes on the west side. So that'll be coming up. Just so you know, you might have seen some, we have some holes throughout the city. We've been waiting on asphalt. Asphalt's been very difficult for us to get. Staff is exploring other ways to try to patch those. We couldn't even get 1 ton of paving material last week, so we're trying to look at other alternatives for that in case you hear anything about that. 7 new Explorers for OBPD are starting to trickle in from the dealership, and they've been on order since January. Once they get here, we send them to the facility that does the lighting and the electronics and the whole outfitting. So it's probably, I don't know, looking around another 6 weeks once they get here, physically get here. So it's been a slow process. Cars are hard to come by. So we're taking what we can get. Lastly, you have at your dais, we had received a note from a Deltona commissioner about wanting to do a first responders challenge. He has asked that I share this with you, so I just provided. If you're interested, please feel free to contact him and send out. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Any questions for the city manager? Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you.
Assistant City Manager Claire Whitley. Thank you. And City Attorney Acting this evening, Scott McKee.
Nothing for me tonight, thank you.
Thank you, sir. And tonight we start with Commissioner Littleton.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just I hope everyone had a happy Labor Day. And with that, I'll say good night.
Thank you, sir. We go to Commissioner Selby.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of quick comments. First, I just want to ask the city manager to make sure that the $200,000 is in the budget that we just approved tonight for the technical assistance for the A1A condos to convert from their package plants to city sewer.
Well, I think it's more general. It wasn't specific to any particular building, but yes, that's in the budget.
What's in the budget then, if it's not specific to that?
Well, I think it was technical assistance.
Yes,
but not
technical
any
assistance.
specific
Right. Oh, yeah. No, it's technical assistance for those projects, those condos. Okay, great. Okay, fantastic. And then Commissioner Kent, regarding your comments, and I'm pretty sure my math is correct here, although I'm going from memory. The Super Walmart, which is 202,000 square feet, according to the property appraiser, would pay under the proposed chart $500,000. I think this is roads only, roads only. Right. And a 4,000 square foot convenience store would pay $100,000. So And when I think about, like a convenience store, it's rare that I generate a trip to go to a convenience store. It's on the way, okay? Versus Walmart, where, no, that's my destination. I'm leaving my house to go to Walmart. So I think you're right. I think there needs to be a lot of looking at these fees and what's reasonable. Walmart probably generates $500,000 in sales in their first, 45 minutes when they open the doors. I mean, if they had a few more cashiers, they'd probably generate more sales, but that's their decision. Anyway, and then my third comment was I wanted to just congratulate staff on creating the separate service area, the Western service area. I think that's brilliant, and I think once we have more information and reading City Attorney Hayes's memo on Avalon Park and the lack of cooperation from the developer in providing a utility master plan and phasing and so forth, so that you're just shooting in the dark. You might as well be playing pin the tail on the donkey, trying to figure out what are their needs and when are they going to need them. So once that's available, having a separate, and also because the service is so different. I mean, we're going to be wholesaling our services, our water and our sewer service to them. They're not retail customers. They're not even our residents. So I think that's a brilliant way to attack it, and I think it'll make it a lot simpler and a lot easier to track the expenses and the costs associated with the capital expenditures necessary. And with that, I'll say good night.
Thank you, Commissioner Selby. Commissioner Kent.
Yes, Joyce, the new windows around City Hall look great. This new podium tonight, amazing. I want to talk about monument signs, two places actually, and the first one I'm going to brag about, it's Fire Station 91. If you all have not driven by Fire Station 91, because let me just tell you what this incredible city of Ormond Beach does. They put new plantings in. I don't know if it's quarterly, but I think it's quarterly. But like right here at the base of the bridge, and Bailey River Bridge Gardens, and Fire Station 91, they go in there and many times the plants look great, but they dig them all up and put new stuff in. If you get a chance, go by Fire Station 91. I don't know what kind of fertilizer they have used. It is absolutely incredible. I wish I knew the names of the plants. Chief, you know what I'm talking about over there? It's where your office is, I believe. It looks, what was that? A lot of love and attention, the chief said. That's why they grow so well. But it looks great. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about our police station monument sign. And to the future commission out there, monument signs are something that we've loved in Ormond Beach for a long time, and they look great. But then we require business owners, like Mr. Crabtree and whoever else out there, small business, we require you to then put plantings around your monument sign that grow. And they tend to grow over the sign, and you can't see the sign. And Ms. Shanahan, we've got to do something about the little palm that is taking over the police department's monument sign. And my only other request with the police department is, Chief, at Christmas time, you got to find those police officers that light up and move. I've said it for years, but hopefully those come back. Scott McKee, man, I looked down. I saw the email from Randy, but I looked down, and it was like a blast from the past having you back up here. With 4 meetings left, I don't know that I'm going to see you here again, but I want to tell you, you're a good man, and I appreciate what you do for our city, and it's really good to see you again. Last thing I have tonight is if you don't know, we did a beautiful addition from our outdoor basketball court at the South Ormond Neighborhood Center. That's in Zone 2, by the way, right here on Division Avenue. We converted an outdoor basketball court and made it an indoor basketball court. But you can't think of everything. So a member of the community said, it's really nice that you did that, but there are kids up and coming that want to play basketball. and they're intimidated to go inside and play basketball and get in that rotation. So they play outside, and they kind of like work their way up. And I had no idea, didn't think about it. So he has no idea I'm going to mention him tonight or mention this project, but I don't care if it was Robert Carolyn that did it. I'd mention Robert Carolyn, or if it was Mike Scudero, I'd mention Mike Scudero, or Troy Kent, I'd mention him. But Paul Hollow took it upon himself to build an outdoor basketball court at the South Ormond Neighborhood Center. And if you have not seen it, go to Fire Station 91 first and look at those plantings. And then drive over to the South Ormond Neighborhood Center on Division. And my wife and I went by the other day. We were walking the neighborhood, and the splash pad that we did was up and running, and there were families in there. And then over in that area is this brand new basketball court that's not 100% complete yet. And then in addition to that, the gentleman changes all of the outdoor lighting to LED on his dime to save the city money and to make it brighter and safer for the kids at the South Ormond Neighborhood Center. And I just thought it was worth mentioning because it was a good, positive thing for Ormond Beach. With that, I say good night.
Thank you, Commissioner. And Deputy Mayor Persis.
Good evening, everyone. Most of us, I think, that were able to, those of us that were able to attend the bronze statue unveiling in Daytona, where the new Mary McLeod Bethune statue is now located. It's right near, I don't know what the name of the park is right off the top of my head right now, but it is in a beautiful spot. The statue of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune faces Bethune-Cookman University. It faces her home, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And I'm so proud that the city donated money to bring that to fruition. It's really as pretty or prettier than the white statue with the black rose. It's really, the bronze is pretty with the black rose, and so it's just another way of looking at it. It's a different way, but it's beautiful, and I'm just really proud that the city of Ormond Beach, contributed, and that we all, were in favor of that. It's just really pretty. It was a hot morning when we went there. When they unveiled it, it was really hot, but it was worth every minute of it, and I just hope everyone also had a very safe and happy Labor Day. And with that, I'll say good night.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And Commissioner Kent, the South Ormond Neighborhood Center is incredible. I know you must have a great sense of pride when you look at how that facility has developed, what it's turned into, and not only what the city did, but what Mr. Holub did. And I hope we're going to have a really nice ribbon cutting for both Mr. Holub's project and the new indoor project, and then also the naming as well. But I believe all Ormond Beach residents can be extremely proud of what that facility has become and continues to become. It's a destination really for the entire city. All kinds of activities going on there. The capital budget that we approved tonight, this commission has approved a fiscally responsible budget with a focus on public safety, water quality, and transportation. Overall, the proposed budget serves the citizens of our community well by providing the funds necessary to maintain and improve infrastructure, ensure qualified and responsive fire and police protection, and offer amenities that define our city through committed, dedicated, and exceptional employees that remain steadfast in our goal to provide the highest quality service. Just a few of the highlights: our public safety focus, continuation of the Public Safety Fund ensures a long-term revenue source for these essential services. This commission had the foresight to establish that. Provides dedicated funding, 3.7 cents of every tax dollar for vehicle and equipment replacement. That includes 6 patrol vehicles, 2 specialty unit vehicles, and 1 motorcycle, a fire brush truck, 2 commercial turnout gear dryers, and an expanded police recruitment scholarship program. As far as water quality and the environmental focus, This budget ensures that the city remains an excellent environmental steward of our water bodies and their tributaries, provides for water reclamation facility rehabilitation, creation of a master lift station, sludge building, pump and tank, additional reclaimed water storage, property acquisition of $700,000 to accomplish that, establishes a septic to sewer incentive program with grants for technical assistance to individuals in condos. Commissioner Selby, you had asked about that earlier. The ultraviolet disinfection system, state-of-the-art, $1.5 million in legislative funding, helping with that, and also the septic to sewer conversion, over $500,000 of legislative funding to work on the septic to sewer conversion on Magnolia, Oak, and Bonita Avenue, all regarding water quality and the environment. And then as far as transportation, which we work on every day here, all of us, provides for improved road resurfacing program, maintains $750,000 for road rehabilitation. That's up 150% from the $500,000 allocated in 2021. It allows more dollars for roadway resurfacing and to adjust for the increased cost of construction materials, if we can even get them, as the city manager pointed out. And then this project, neighborhood traffic calming. Our residents love this. I got an email asking about it even today, but they worry about their children when they go out to play because people do speed, unfortunately. And so for the first year of the program, installations occurred on Hernandez, Dix, Highland, Fleming, North Halifax Drive, Division, Riverside Drive, Beach Street, and Melrose Avenue, the first year alone. Also, some enhanced funding for sidewalk repairs and replacements, various locations throughout the city. So I just wanted to point out those budget highlights, and then I'll end on a positive note. The city received from the Better Cities for Pets program, I think it's through Mars Pet Care, the Pet Friendly City certification. So Tyson there in the picture looks like a sweet boy, and he is a sweet boy, let me tell you that. The City of Ormond Beach has earned that certification through the Better Cities for Pets program, showcasing its commitment to creating a pet-friendly community. Ormond Beach is very proud to join the other 14 Florida cities who have been officially certified as pet-friendly. This certification celebrates the fact that we're creating positive and welcoming environments for people and their pets, and should encourage more cities to recognize the benefits of our four-legged friends. Ormond Beach was recognized with high marks across the ranking categories of shelters, homes, parks, and businesses, and we're especially pleased to provide information on our doggy dining program that allows pet owners to dine outdoors with their pets in approved establishments, our regular vaccination clinics, our anti-tethering ordinance, Deputy Mayor Persis, that you brought forward, protecting pets, especially in the Florida heat, and then 43 of 47 parks in our area allow on-leash pets, including 2 that allow them off-leash. So our pets are extremely important to us, and we're excited to recognize that designation. And with that, at 8:53, we will be adjourned.